Have you ever heard a language that people laugh at before they even understand it? A language so honest, so direct, and so unmistakably unique that many outsiders mistake it for a joke. Have you ever tasted a piece of food so simple that it became the symbol of an entire region? Or visited a place where rivers carved civilizations, mountains guarded centuries of tradition, and ordinary villages quietly preserved stories that never made it into history books? Welcome to Banyumas, a land that many Indonesians recognize only for its distinctive Ngapak dialect and the irresistible crunch of Tempe Mendoan. But Banyumas is far more than a regional accent or a famous snack. Hidden beneath its peaceful landscapes lies a civilization shaped by powerful kingdoms, ancient traditions, resilient communities, and remarkable cultural identity that has survived for hundreds of years. This is not simply another district in central Java. This is one of Indonesia's most fascinating cultural landscapes. Today, we are going beyond the postcards, beyond the stereotypes, beyond everything most people think they know. Because once you discover the real Banyumas, you may never see this region the same way again. Our journey begins with a question that sounds surprisingly simple. Why is this place called Banyumas? Names often preserve memories that history books forget. Some commemorate kings, others celebrate victories. Some describe landscapes, and a few emerge from stories passed through generations until they become part of a community's identity. The name Banyumas is one of those stories. In the Banyumasan language, the word Banyu means water. The word Mas means gold. Together they form the phrase golden water. At first glance, the meaning sounds poetic, but local folklore tells a much deeper story. According to a legend shared among generations of Banyumas residents, a traveller from far away once visited this fertile land during an unusually severe dry season. As he journeyed through the villages, he noticed long lines of people patiently waiting beside precious springs. Water had become incredibly scarce. Every drop was treasured. When he asked why everyone was willing to wait for hours under the burning sun, the villagers answered with a simple expression: "The price of water is like gold." In the Banyumasan dialect they said, "Rega banyu kaya mas." Whether the tale reflects historical reality or survives as local folklore, its message reveals something universal. There are moments in every civilization when the most valuable treasure is not wealth, it is survival. Water has always determined where people settled, how they farmed, and whether entire communities could thrive. Long before modern infrastructure, rivers and springs decided the fate of kingdoms. For the people of Banyumas, water was never merely a natural resource, it was life itself. Even today, rivers continue to define the geography of the region. Flowing from the volcanic highlands surrounding Mount Slamet, streams nourish rice fields, plantations, forests, and villages that have depended upon them for centuries. These waterways transform the region into one of the fertile agricultural centers of central Java. Without them, Banyumas would never have become the thriving homeland that millions know today. Yet the story of Banyumas extends far beyond its name. To truly understand this region, we must first understand its people. And that means discovering one of Indonesia's most distinctive cultural identities, the Banyumasan culture. Although Banyumas belongs to central Java, its cultural personality is unlike almost anywhere else on the island. Visitors often notice it immediately. People speak differently. They joke differently. They perform their arts differently. Even their way of expressing respect feels refreshingly open and genuine. This cultural character has developed over centuries through the influence of geography, trade routes, agriculture, and relative independence from the refined court traditions that shape cities like Yogyakarta and Surakarta. As a result, Banyumasan culture developed a reputation for sincerity. People here are often described as kablaka. The word has no perfect English translation. It means speaking openly, being straightforward, choosing honesty over unnecessary politeness, expressing thoughts without complicated layers of social performance. To outsiders unfamiliar with the culture, this direct communication style may seem unusually blunt. But within Banyumas, it represents authenticity. It reflects trust. It reflects confidence. Most importantly, it reflects equality. The Banyumasan worldview values genuine human connection over elaborate displays of hierarchy. This same spirit is heard every day through the famous Ngapak dialect. Across Indonesia, the word Ngapak has become instantly recognizable. Its pronunciation preserves clear consonants that have disappeared from many other Javanese dialects. Words sound firm, distinct, unmistakably energetic. For many years, this dialect became the subject of jokes in television programs and popular media. Yet linguists and cultural historians often point out something remarkable. Rather than being a distorted version of standard Javanese, the Banyumasan dialect actually preserves several older pronunciation patterns that existed long before language evolved differently in royal courts. In other words, what many people once mocked may actually represent one of the oldest surviving voices within the broader Javanese language family. That realization changes everything. Instead of hearing something outdated, we begin hearing history itself. Every conversation becomes an echo of generations who lived, farmed, celebrated, and raised families long before modern Indonesia even existed. Language is not merely communication, it is living heritage. And in Banyumas, that heritage remains astonishingly alive. Culture here also comes alive through performance. Among its most treasured artistic traditions is Wayang Kulit Gagrag Banyumasan. While shadow puppetry exists across Java, Banyumas developed its own distinctive interpretation. The performances are famous for feeling close to ordinary people. The characters speak with humour. Dialogue often reflects everyday life. The performances invite audiences not only to admire heroes, but also to laugh together, reflect together, and recognise themselves within timeless stories. Historically, two major stylistic traditions emerged, Gragag Kidul Gunung and Gragag Lor Gunung. Each developed its own performance techniques while preserving the philosophical essence of Javanese storytelling. Yet both remained unmistakably Banyumasan. Their performances celebrate ordinary humanity, not distant perfection. This accessibility explains why the art continues to resonate across generations. Stories only survive when people feel they belong to them, and Banyumas has always understood that wisdom. Perhaps no tradition demonstrates this better than Begalan. At first glance, visitors attending a Banyumasan wedding might think they are watching a humorous theatrical performance. Two performers enter carrying traditional kitchen utensils. The audience laughs. The performers exchange witty dialogue. Everyone appears entertained. But beneath every joke lies profound philosophy. Each household object carries symbolic meaning. Every movement contains advice. Every conversation reminds the newly married couple about responsibility, cooperation, honesty, patience, and resilience. A broom represents harmony. Cooking tools symbolize shared responsibility. Containers remind couples to protect their household. Simple objects become timeless lessons. Instead of delivering lengthy lectures, Banyumas transforms wisdom into performance. Guests leave smiling. Newlyweds leave carrying values that may guide them for an entire lifetime. This remarkable ability to combine humor with moral education reflects something deeply Indonesian. Communities have long understood that people remember stories far longer than instructions. The greatest lessons are not forced, they are experienced. And in Banyumas, culture has mastered the art of teaching through celebration. This is only the beginning of our journey, because beyond its language, performing arts and unforgettable traditions, Banyumas still hides volcanic landscapes, royal history, engineering marvels, culinary legends, colonial relics, and natural wonders waiting to be discovered. The deeper we travel into this extraordinary region, the more one truth becomes impossible to ignore. Banyumas has never needed to shout to become extraordinary. Its greatness has always been quietly flowing beneath the surface, like water, as precious as gold. If culture is the soul of a land, then nature is its heartbeat, and nowhere is that heartbeat stronger than in the landscapes that surround Banyumas. Long before roads connected villages and cities, before railways crossed Java, and before modern Indonesia was even imagined, the people of Banyumas looked toward one giant guardian watching over their lives every single day, Mount Slamet. Standing more than 3,400 meters above sea level, Mount Slamet is the highest mountain in central Java and one of the largest active volcanoes in Indonesia. Its presence dominates the horizon from almost every corner of Banyumas. To outsiders, it is simply a spectacular volcano. To local communities, it is something much greater. It is the source of life. Every rainy season, water flowing from its volcanic slopes feeds countless rivers that weave through forests, rice fields, and villages. These rivers irrigate thousands of hectares of farmland, making Banyumas one of the most fertile agricultural regions in central Java. Without Mount Slamet, Banyumas would not exist as we know it today. Its volcanic soil, enriched over thousands of years by eruptions, has created extraordinary fertility. Rice grows abundantly, vegetables flourish in cooler highland areas, sugarcane, coconuts, spices, and tropical fruits have supported generations of farmers whose livelihoods depend on the rhythms of nature. Yet the mountain also reminds people of an important truth. Nature gives, but nature also demands respect. Throughout history, volcanic activity has shaped not only the landscape, but also the mindset of those who live nearby. Communities learned resilience. They rebuilt after eruptions. They adapted to changing seasons. They understood that prosperity and uncertainty often arrive together. Perhaps that is why the people of Banyumas have earned a reputation for perseverance. Life here has always required patience. From the fertile slopes of Mount Slamet, rivers descend toward one of the region's greatest natural treasures, the Serayu River. Stretching for hundreds of kilometers across central Java, the Serayu is more than a river. It is the historical artery of Banyumas. Long before trucks transported goods across highways, boats navigated these waters carrying rice, timber, bamboo, spices, and countless other products between inland communities and coastal trading centers. The river connected villages, it connected cultures, it connected economies. Entire settlements emerged along its banks because water meant opportunity. Children learned to swim in its currents. Farmers depended upon its irrigation. Fishermen earned their livelihoods from its waters. Even today, the Serayu continues to shape daily life. Its flowing waters have inspired songs, poems, folklore, and memories shared across generations. Many elderly residents still remember stories from parents and grandparents about how the river once served as the community's busiest transportation route. The Serayu is also home to one of Banyumas' most iconic engineering achievements. The historic railway bridge spanning the river stands as a reminder of Indonesia's colonial era. When railway construction expanded across Java during the late 19th and early 20th centuries, engineers faced enormous challenges. They needed to cross wide rivers, unstable terrain, and volcanic landscapes. The bridges they built were remarkable feats of engineering for their time. Today, these structures remain symbols of both technological ambition and historical transformation. They remind visitors that Banyumas has long occupied an important position within Java's transportation network. But history in Banyumas extends even deeper than colonial infrastructure. Long before European powers arrived, this region played an important role within the evolving political landscape of Java. The story begins with the ancient kingdoms that once ruled the island. As power shifted between great Javanese kingdoms, local leaders gradually established their own centers of authority. One of the most significant turning points occurred during the 16th century. Following political changes within the Kingdom of Pajang, regional leaders gained greater influence over territories across central Java. The foundations of Banyumas as a distinct political region began to emerge during this transformative era. One name appears repeatedly in local historical tradition: Joko Kaiman. Widely remembered as Adipati Mrapat, he is celebrated as one of the founders of Banyumas. Historical accounts describe him as a leader whose diplomatic skills helped prevent conflict among competing heirs. Rather than allowing disputes to divide the region, he negotiated a peaceful division of authority. This decision earned him widespread respect. His leadership emphasized stability instead of violence, cooperation instead of endless rivalry. That legacy still shapes Banyumas today. It reflects a community that values practical wisdom over unnecessary confrontation. History is often written through battles, but sometimes the greatest victories are the conflicts that never happen. Banyumas became known not only for political leadership, but also for cultural independence. Unlike the refined etiquette associated with royal courts in Surakarta and Yogyakarta, Banyumasan society developed its own character. People valued openness, they respected hard work, status mattered less than integrity. This cultural identity remains visible today. Walk through traditional markets, visit rural villages, sit with local farmers, listen to conversations over coffee. You will often discover an atmosphere that feels welcoming, relaxed, and refreshingly honest. People speak directly, they laugh easily. Hospitality is offered naturally rather than ceremonially. That authenticity has become one of Banyuma's greatest strengths. Visitors frequently arrive expecting beautiful scenery. They leave remembering the people. Of course, no story about Banyumas would be complete without mentioning the food. Few regional dishes have achieved national popularity quite like Tempe Mendoan. At first glance, it appears deceptively simple. Thin slices of fermented soybean cake are coated in lightly seasoned batter before being fried briefly at relatively low temperatures. The result is completely different from ordinary fried tempeh. Instead of becoming crispy throughout, Mendoan remains soft, tender, and slightly moist inside. The name itself comes from the Banyumasan word mendo, meaning half-cooked or cooked gently. Served fresh with bird's eye chili and sweet soy sauce, the dish has become one of Indonesia's most beloved comfort foods. Yet Tempe Mendoan represents something much deeper than culinary tradition. It reflects Banyumas' philosophy of simplicity, extraordinary flavor created from humble ingredients, a reminder that greatness does not always require luxury. Sometimes it begins with soybeans, flour, spices, and generations of shared knowledge. Food also serves another purpose. It preserves identity. Every family has its preferred recipe. Every street vendor adds a personal touch. Every bite carries memories of childhood, community gatherings, and home. That emotional connection explains why so many Indonesians living far from Banyumas still long for authentic Mendoan. Because they are not simply craving food, they are longing for belonging. As the sun sets behind Mount Slamet and golden light reflects across rice fields nourished by ancient rivers, Banyumas reveals another side of itself, quiet, peaceful, timeless. It is easy to understand why generations chose to build their lives here. Nature provides abundance, culture provides identity, history provides purpose. Together, they create a region unlike any other in Indonesia. Yet our journey has only reached the halfway point, because hidden beyond the mountains and villages are spectacular waterfalls, mysterious caves, healing hot springs, remarkable biodiversity, forgotten colonial landmarks, and modern innovations that continue transforming Banyumas into one of Central Java's most fascinating destinations. The greatest discoveries are still waiting just beyond the next horizon. Few places demonstrate the extraordinary power of water quite like Banyumas. As rivers descend from the towering slopes of Mount Slamet, they carve deep valleys through volcanic rock, creating landscapes that seem almost untouched by time. Among these natural masterpieces stands one of the most breathtaking destinations in Central Java, Curug Cipendok. Hidden within lush tropical forests on the western slopes of Mount Slamet, this magnificent waterfall plunges nearly 100 meters into a cool valley surrounded by towering trees, giant ferns, and the constant sound of flowing water. The journey toward the waterfall is almost as memorable as the destination itself. Visitors walk through shaded forest paths where fresh mountain air replaces the noise of city life. Sunlight filters gently through dense canopies. Colorful butterflies drift between wild flowers. Birds sing from branches high above. Every step feels like entering another world. Then suddenly, the forest opens. Before you stands an immense curtain of water crashing onto ancient volcanic rocks below. The sound is powerful. The mist fills the air. For a brief moment, every conversation stops. Nature speaks louder than words. Curug Cipendok is only one of dozens of waterfalls scattered throughout Banyumas. Many remain hidden within forests and plantations known primarily by local residents. Each possesses its own unique character. Some tumble gracefully over smooth stone cliffs. Others roar through narrow gorges shaped over thousands of years. Together, they reveal the incredible geological forces that continue shaping this remarkable landscape. Water has always been one of Banyumas' greatest gifts, but beneath the surface lies another hidden wonder, an underground world waiting to be explored. The limestone formations surrounding parts of Banyumas have created impressive cave systems over countless centuries. One of the most fascinating is Goa Maria Kaliori and several nearby natural caves that attract explorers, researchers, and visitors seeking something beyond ordinary tourism. Inside these caves, nature works patiently, drop by drop, century after century. Minerals slowly accumulate, forming spectacular stalactites hanging from the ceiling and stalagmites rising from the cave floor. Some formations have taken hundreds of thousands of years to develop. Standing inside these chambers creates a powerful sense of perspective. Human history suddenly feels incredibly short. While civilizations rise and fall, the earth continues sculpting masterpieces beneath our feet. Not far from these caves, Banyumas offers another remarkable gift from its volcanic origins: natural hot springs. Heated by geothermal activity deep beneath Mount Slamet, mineral-rich waters emerge naturally from underground, creating places where visitors can relax while surrounded by cool mountain scenery. For centuries, local communities believed these springs possessed healing qualities. Whether people came seeking physical recovery or simply peaceful reflection, the experience always reinforced humanity's timeless relationship with nature. Modern science explains the geothermal processes responsible for these hot springs. Traditional belief reminds us that people have appreciated their benefits long before scientific understanding existed. Sometimes, wisdom arrives through observation long before explanation follows. Nature also transformed Banyumas into one of Central Java's biodiversity hotspots. Dense forests surrounding Mount Slamet provide habitats for countless species of plants, birds, insects, reptiles, and mammals. Towering tropical trees create layered ecosystems, supporting life from forest floors to high canopies. Many visitors are surprised to discover how biologically rich this region truly is. Morning hikes often reward travelers with the songs of endemic birds echoing through mist-covered valleys. Colorful butterflies glide among flowering plants. Small mammals quietly disappear into dense vegetation. Each encounter reminds us that Indonesia remains one of the world's most biologically diverse nations. Protecting places like Banyumas is not only about preserving beautiful scenery, it is about safeguarding living ecosystems that support both wildlife and human communities. Healthy forests regulate water supplies, they reduce erosion, they store carbon, they protect biodiversity that future generations deserve to inherit. Environmental conservation here is not merely an environmental issue, it is an economic necessity, an agricultural necessity, and ultimately a human necessity. Yet Banyumas is not frozen in the past. While tradition remains deeply respected, the region continues embracing education, innovation, and modern development. The city of Purwokerto has become one of Central Java's most important educational centers. Thousands of students from across Indonesia arrive every year to pursue higher education. Universities, vocational institutions, and research centers contribute new ideas that strengthen the local economy while creating opportunities for future generations. This youthful energy gives Banyumas an exciting balance. Ancient traditions continue flourishing alongside scientific progress. Historic markets exist beside modern shopping centers. Traditional performances share space with contemporary music festivals. Local food stalls operate only minutes away from modern cafes filled with students discussing technology, entrepreneurship, and creative industries. This harmony between heritage and progress is one of Banyumas's greatest strengths. Development has not erased identity. Instead, it continues building upon centuries of cultural foundations. Even the famous Banyumasan sense of humor remains remarkably strong. Spend enough time with local residents, and you will quickly notice their ability to transform ordinary conversations into moments of laughter. Humor here is spontaneous, warm, inclusive. It creates friendships almost instantly. Perhaps this explains why so many visitors arrive as tourists but leave feeling as though they have gained an entirely new family. Hospitality in Banyumas rarely feels formal. Instead, it feels genuine. Someone invites you to share coffee. Another recommends a favorite food stall. A farmer proudly explains how rice is cultivated. An elderly resident happily shares childhood memories of life before electricity reached rural villages. These interactions cannot be manufactured. They emerge naturally from communities that still value human connection. In an increasingly digital world where many conversations happen through screens, Banyumas quietly reminds us of something beautifully simple. The greatest travel experiences are rarely measured by famous landmarks alone. They are measured by people, by conversations, by unexpected kindness, by stories exchanged between strangers who may never meet again. That is the invisible treasure of Banyumas. It cannot be photographed, it cannot be bought, yet it often becomes the memory visitors cherish the longest. As evening slowly settles across the rice fields, distant calls to prayer echo through villages, while Mount Slamet watches silently over the land below. The rivers continue flowing exactly as they have for centuries. Children continue playing beneath coconut trees. Farmers prepare for another sunrise. Artists preserve traditions inherited from their ancestors. Life moves forward without losing sight of where it began. In a world constantly chasing the next destination, Banyumas teaches a different lesson. Sometimes the places that change us the most are not the loudest, not the most famous, not the most photographed. Sometimes they are the places that quietly reveal their beauty, one story at a time. And Banyumas still has many stories left to tell. History often remembers the largest kingdoms, the greatest empires, the most powerful rulers. But the true strength of a civilization is not always measured by the size of its armies or the wealth of its palaces. Sometimes it is measured by something far more enduring, the ability of ordinary people to preserve their identity through generations of change. That is exactly what Banyumas has accomplished. For centuries, this region has witnessed the rise and fall of kingdoms. It has experienced colonial rule, political transformation, economic change, natural disasters, and rapid modernization. Yet through every chapter, the people of Banyumas have continued speaking their language, performing their traditions, preparing their ancestral recipes, and passing their values from one generation to the next. That continuity is extraordinary because culture is fragile. It survives only when people choose to protect it. One of the clearest examples can be found in Banyumas' traditional music. The rhythmic sounds of bamboo instruments have echoed across villages for generations. Simple materials harvested from nearby forests are transformed into instruments capable of producing melodies that instantly evoke memories of home. Music accompanies celebrations, harvest festivals, religious ceremonies, community gatherings, even moments of mourning. Every performance becomes more than entertainment. It becomes a conversation between the past and the present. The same spirit lives within Banyumas' traditional dances. Each movement carries meaning. Grace is balanced with strength. Elegance meets simplicity. Unlike performances designed purely for spectacle, many traditional dances originally served social and spiritual purposes. They expressed gratitude for successful harvests. They welcomed honored guests. They strengthened community bonds. Every gesture reflected values deeply rooted in local life. Traditional clothing tells another remarkable story. Intricate batik motifs found throughout Banyumas showcase artistic creativity that has evolved over hundreds of years. Although batik is celebrated throughout Indonesia, every region has developed its own visual language. Banyumas is no exception. Patterns inspired by nature, agriculture, rivers, and daily life distinguish local designs from those of other Javanese regions. Every piece represents countless hours of patient craftsmanship. Every line drawn by hand reflects generations of accumulated knowledge. These fabrics are more than beautiful textiles, they are wearable history. Markets have also played an essential role in preserving Banyumas' identity. Long before supermarkets appeared, traditional markets formed the economic and social heart of local communities. Farmers arrived before sunrise, carrying freshly harvested vegetables. Fishermen displayed their morning catch. Spice merchants filled the air with the rich aroma of cloves, cinnamon, turmeric, ginger, and coriander. Neighbors greeted one another by name. News spread naturally through conversation. Children followed parents between colorful stalls while learning the customs that shaped everyday life. Even today, many traditional markets continue thriving despite the arrival of modern retail centers. People return not only for fresh ingredients, but also for familiarity. They come for conversations, for relationships, for the comforting rhythm of community life that cannot be replaced by convenience alone. Perhaps nowhere is Banyumas' resilience more visible than in its agricultural traditions. Rice fields stretch across the landscape like giant green mosaics. Every planting season follows rhythms refined over centuries. Farmers observe rainfall, study soil conditions, coordinate irrigation, share labor during harvest. Agriculture here has never been simply an occupation, it is a way of life. Families often work together across generations. Grandparents teach grandchildren how to recognize healthy crops. Parents explain the importance of protecting irrigation channels. Knowledge is transferred through experience rather than textbooks. This relationship with the land has shaped the values of Banyumas society: patience, discipline, cooperation, respect for nature. These qualities emerge naturally when livelihoods depend upon seasons that cannot be hurried. Modern technology has certainly transformed agriculture. Machinery has reduced physical labor. Improved irrigation systems have increased productivity. Scientific research has introduced more resilient crop varieties. Yet many traditional practices remain because they continue proving their value. Innovation does not always replace tradition. Sometimes it strengthens it. Another defining characteristic of Banyumas is its remarkable spirit of mutual cooperation. Across Indonesia, the principle of gotong royong has long represented one of the nation's strongest social values. In Banyumas, this tradition remains deeply alive. When a family builds a house, neighbors often volunteer their time. When disaster strikes, communities organize assistance almost immediately. When celebrations are held, everyone contributes according to their ability. No one is expected to face life's greatest challenges alone. This collective spirit creates something increasingly rare in today's fast-paced world: a genuine sense of belonging. People recognize that individual success becomes stronger when communities succeed together. It is a philosophy that has sustained Banyumas through countless generations. As Indonesia entered the modern era, Banyumas also embraced new opportunities. Roads expanded, education improved, healthcare became more accessible, businesses diversified. Young entrepreneurs began creating innovative products inspired by local traditions. Coffee grown on volcanic slopes reached wider markets. Creative industries flourished. Tourism introduced visitors to destinations that had remained hidden for decades. Yet despite this progress, Banyumas has resisted becoming just another modern city. Its greatest achievement is balance. Balance between growth and preservation, between technology and tradition, between ambition and humility. That balance may become one of the region's greatest lessons for the future, because development without identity creates places that all look the same. Banyumas has chosen a different path. It continues moving forward without forgetting where it came from. Perhaps that is why so many people who visit Banyumas leave with unexpected admiration. They arrive expecting beautiful scenery. They discover living culture. They expect historical landmarks. they encounter genuine hospitality. They expect another destination. Instead, they find a community that quietly demonstrates how heritage can remain relevant in the 21st century. The story of Banyumas is far from over. Every sunrise over Mount Slamet begins another chapter. Every child learning the Ngapak dialect continues an ancient linguistic tradition. Every family preparing Tempe Mendoan preserves a culinary legacy. Every artist performing Wayang Banyumasan ensures that centuries of storytelling remain alive. History is still being written here, not by kings alone, not by politicians, not by famous names, but by ordinary people whose daily lives continue protecting one of Indonesia's richest cultural landscapes. And perhaps that is the greatest wonder of Banyumas. Its greatest treasures are not locked inside museums. They are alive. They speak. They sing. They laugh. They farm. They create. They welcome strangers as friends. And they remind the world that true greatness is never measured by how loudly a place announces itself. It is measured by how deeply it stays in your heart long after you have gone. There is a reason why places like Banyumas remain unforgettable. It is not because they compete for attention. It is because they never needed to. In an age where destinations are often measured by social media trends, luxury resorts, or towering skylines, Banyumas quietly offers something far more valuable: authenticity. It is the kind of place where the morning begins with mist drifting gently across emerald rice fields, where the first sounds of the day are birds singing from forest canopies, farmers greeting one another with warm smiles, and motorcycles carrying baskets of fresh vegetables toward traditional markets. Life here follows a rhythm that has existed for generations. Not rushed, not artificial, simply real. Walk through one of Banyumas' villages and you quickly discover that time seems to move differently. Children still play outside until sunset. Neighbours still stop to talk without checking the time. Families still gather around the dinner table to share meals prepared from recipes handed down through generations. These simple moments may appear ordinary, yet in today's increasingly connected world, they have become surprisingly rare. Perhaps that is why so many travellers leave Banyumas with memories they never expected to make. Not because they found the tallest building, not because they visited the most famous attraction, but because they experienced something increasingly difficult to find: human connection. One conversation with a local farmer can reveal decades of agricultural wisdom. One afternoon spent in a traditional market can teach more about local culture than hours spent reading guidebooks. One shared meal can erase every difference between strangers. Hospitality in Banyumas is never performed for visitors. It comes naturally. It reflects values deeply rooted in community life. Guests are welcomed not because it is expected, but because it feels right. That generosity extends beyond homes. It can be seen during village festivals, religious celebrations, harvest ceremonies, and cultural performances where visitors are often invited to participate rather than simply observe. In Banyumas, culture is not hidden behind museum glass. It is lived every single day. Throughout the year, communities continue organizing traditional events that celebrate local identity. Music fills village squares, colorful costumes brighten the streets, children proudly perform dances taught by their grandparents, elders share stories that have survived through oral tradition for centuries. Each celebration becomes another thread connecting past, present, and future. This continuity matters because heritage cannot survive through buildings alone. It survives through people, through language, through rituals, through food, through songs, through stories. Every generation inherits these traditions with a choice. They can allow them to disappear, or they can become guardians for those who come after them. The people of Banyumas have consistently chosen the second path. Their commitment has preserved one of Indonesia's richest cultural landscapes. Yet Banyumas is not trapped in nostalgia. Young entrepreneurs are introducing local coffee to international audiences. Creative artists blend traditional music with contemporary sounds. Digital creators proudly speak the Ngapak dialect online, transforming what was once unfairly mocked into a symbol of regional pride. Students returning from universities across Indonesia bring new ideas while remaining deeply connected to their hometowns. This combination of innovation and cultural confidence creates something remarkable. Progress without losing identity, modernization without abandoning heritage, growth without forgetting roots. Few places achieve that balance successfully. Banyumas continues proving that it is possible. Environmental awareness has also become increasingly important. Communities understand that protecting forests means protecting water sources. Protecting rivers means protecting agriculture. Protecting biodiversity means protecting future generations. Across Indonesia, environmental challenges continue growing. Climate change, deforestation, pollution, and urban expansion threaten ecosystems that have supported communities for centuries. Banyumas stands as an important reminder that sustainable development requires respect for nature as much as investment in infrastructure. After all, the forests surrounding Mount Slamet are more than beautiful scenery. They capture rainfall, prevent landslides, support wildlife, supply clean water, regulate local climates. Every tree contributes to a much larger system that benefits millions of people. The same can be said for the rivers flowing through Banyumas. Their value cannot be measured only by the water they carry. They carry history, culture, livelihoods, memories. They have witnessed kingdoms rise, empires disappear, colonial governments come and go, independence achieved, generations born, generations remembered. And through every chapter, they have continued flowing toward the sea. Perhaps there is a lesson hidden within that endless journey. Life moves forward. History continues. Change is inevitable. Yet our roots continue shaping who we become. Banyumas understands this better than most places. It embraces tomorrow without rejecting yesterday. That wisdom may be its greatest gift. As our journey through Banyumas slowly approaches its conclusion, one question remains. Why should the world care about places like this? The answer is surprisingly simple. Because every culture preserved enriches humanity. Every language protected expands our understanding of the world. Every traditional performance saved keeps another chapter of human creativity alive. Every recipe passed from grandparents to grandchildren preserves memories that no textbook could ever replace. When we lose places like Banyumas, we lose far more than a destination. We lose perspectives, we lose traditions, we lose stories that can never be recreated. Fortunately, Banyumas continues standing proudly. Its mountains remain watchful, its rivers continue flowing, its forests continue breathing, its artists continue performing, its farmers continue planting, its families continue teaching their children the values that built this remarkable land. And perhaps somewhere, a young child is speaking the Ngapak dialect for the very first time, laughing with friends, listening to stories from grandparents, watching a Wayang Kulit performance beneath the night sky. Without realizing it, that child is becoming the next guardian of Banyumas' extraordinary legacy. Because history does not survive by accident, it survives because ordinary people choose every single day to remember, to protect, to celebrate, to pass something beautiful forward. That is the true story of Banyumas, not simply a place on the map of Central Java, not only the home of Tempe Mendoan, not merely the land of the famous Ngapak dialect, but a living testament to resilience, authenticity, and cultural pride. A place where mountains nurture rivers, where rivers nourish civilizations, where traditions strengthen communities, and where every sunrise reminds us that the richest treasures in the world are often the ones that quietly endure. So the next time you hear someone mention Banyumas, remember this: you are not hearing the name of an ordinary region. You are hearing the name of a land shaped by water as precious as gold. A land where history still whispers through bamboo forests, where culture still breathes in every village, where every smile tells a story, and where the true beauty of Indonesia continues to shine, quietly, patiently, and brilliantly, waiting for the rest of the world to finally discover it. And maybe that is the greatest irony of all. Millions of people travel across the world searching for places that feel authentic. They spend fortunes chasing experiences that promise peace, connection, and meaning. Yet hidden in the heart of Central Java is a place that has quietly preserved those qualities for centuries, without seeking fame, without demanding recognition, without changing itself simply to satisfy expectations. Banyumas has never needed to become someone else. It has remained unapologetically Banyumas. Its identity can be heard in every Ngapak conversation echoing through village streets. It can be tasted in every bite of freshly cooked Tempe Mendoan. It can be felt in the cool mountain breeze descending from Mount Slamet each morning. It can be seen in the smiles of people who still believe that neighbors are family and strangers deserve kindness. These are not attractions created for tourists. They are expressions of everyday life. And perhaps that is why they leave such a lasting impression. The more you learn about Banyumas, the more you begin to understand that its greatest landmark is not a mountain, not a waterfall, not a historical monument. Its greatest landmark is its people. Generation after generation, they have chosen to preserve what truly matters: respect, honesty, community, hard work, humility, and an unwavering pride in their heritage. These values cannot be photographed. They cannot be purchased. They cannot be replicated. They must be lived. As Indonesia continues growing into one of the world's most dynamic nations, regions like Banyumas become increasingly important. They remind us that development and tradition are not enemies. Technology and culture can grow together. Modern cities and ancient customs can coexist. Progress becomes more meaningful when it carries history forward instead of leaving it behind. This lesson extends far beyond Indonesia. Across the globe, communities face the same challenge. How do we embrace the future without forgetting the past? How do we innovate without losing identity? How do we become global citizens while remaining proud of where we came from? Banyumas offers one possible answer. Honor your roots, protect your culture, welcome change, but never allow convenience to replace character. That philosophy has carried this region through centuries of transformation, and it continues inspiring everyone fortunate enough to experience it. Imagine standing on a hillside overlooking endless green rice terraces just as the first rays of sunlight illuminate Mount Slamet. The air is cool. The sky slowly changes from deep blue to brilliant gold. Mist rises gently above the valleys while birds begin their morning chorus. For a few precious moments, the entire landscape feels perfectly still. No noise, no hurry, no distractions, only nature, only gratitude, only the quiet realization that some places still possess the power to heal the human spirit. Those moments cannot be measured by photographs. They become memories that remain with you long after the journey ends. That is the magic of Banyumas. It does not overwhelm you. It slowly wins your heart. One conversation, one meal, one story, one sunrise at a time. Every destination leaves behind a different kind of memory. Some are remembered for luxury, others for adventure, others for entertainment. Banyumas is remembered because it makes you feel connected. Connected to history, connected to nature, connected to people, connected to values that often seem forgotten in the modern world. Perhaps that is why those who have truly experienced Banyumas rarely describe it with only facts and statistics. They describe a feeling, a sense of warmth, a sense of belonging, a quiet happiness that is surprisingly difficult to explain, because the most meaningful places are never defined only by geography. They are defined by emotion, by the invisible bond they create between a place and the people who walk its paths. If every mountain has a story, Mount Slamet tells one of resilience. If every river has a voice, the Serayu speaks of endurance. If every culture has a heartbeat, Banyumas and traditions continue beating with remarkable strength. And if every community leaves behind a legacy, the legacy of Banyumas is beautifully clear. Protect what matters. Celebrate who you are. Share your kindness freely. And remember that true wealth is never measured only by what you own. It is measured by what you preserve for those who come after you. Long after today's visitors return home, long after today's children become tomorrow's parents, long after today's traditions are inherited by another generation, the rivers of Banyumas will continue flowing, the forests will continue growing, the songs will continue being sung, the stories will continue being told, because this is more than a destination, it is a living heritage, a reminder that Indonesia's greatest treasures are not always found in its largest cities or its most famous landmarks. Sometimes they are discovered in places where culture still lives naturally, where history still walks beside everyday life, and where every smile carries generations of wisdom. So if one day your journey brings you to the heart of Central Java, do not simply pass through Banyumas. Slow down, listen carefully, taste the local food, speak with the people, walk beside its rivers, stand beneath its waterfalls, watch the shadows dance during a traditional wayang performance. Allow yourself to experience the land rather than merely seeing it. Because once you truly understand Banyumas, you will realize something extraordinary. The greatest destinations are not always the ones everyone is talking about. They are the ones you never stop thinking about after you leave. And perhaps, years from now, when someone asks you about the most unforgettable place you have ever visited, you'll remember a quiet land beneath the watchful gaze of Mount Slamet, a land where water was once valued like gold, a land where culture remains alive, a land called Banyumas. And you will understand why some stories are too beautiful to remain hidden forever. Before this story comes to an end, there is one final truth that deserves to be remembered. Every place has landmarks. Every place has statistics. Every place has maps, borders, and historical records. But only a few places have a soul that people can feel. Banyumas is one of them. Its soul does not exist in a single monument. It exists in countless small moments that most travellers never expect. It exists in the grandmother carefully preparing breakfast before sunrise, in the farmer who smiles proudly while harvesting rice grown from volcanic soil enriched over thousands of years, in the craftsman patiently carving bamboo with the same techniques his ancestors practiced generations ago, in the laughter of children speaking Ngapak without embarrassment, carrying forward a dialect that has become a proud symbol of identity. These moments may never appear in travel brochures, yet they define Banyumas more than any landmark ever could. Because civilizations are not built by buildings alone, they are built by people. And the people of Banyumas have spent centuries creating a culture rooted in humility, resilience, honesty, and compassion. That legacy deserves recognition, not because it seeks applause, but because it represents something increasingly precious in today's world: authenticity. As globalization continues connecting every corner of the planet, cultures everywhere face difficult choices. Should they adapt? Should they preserve? Should they change? Or should they hold firmly to traditions that define who they are? Banyumas demonstrates that the answer is not choosing one over the other. It is finding harmony between both. Modern schools educate future scientists, while traditional artists continue performing Wayang Kulit. Young entrepreneurs build digital businesses while their families still prepare recipes passed down for generations. University students embrace global ideas without forgetting the wisdom taught by their grandparents. Technology moves forward. Culture walks beside it. Neither is left behind. Perhaps this quiet balance is Banyumas' greatest achievement. It reminds us that progress should never require sacrificing identity. Instead, identity should become the foundation upon which progress is built. Imagine Banyumas 50 years from now.